Today, I'm going to tell you all about the biggest selling mistake that dog trainers make. This is a super common mistake. The reason that it's so big and costly is because you have no idea that you're making it. So it's affecting your sales conversion rate and you don't even know that that's the reason why. I'm Jason from Make It As a Dog Trainer, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to dramatically increase your sales conversion rate by just adjusting one simple thing that you do in the sales conversations that you have with dog owners. So the mistake that you're probably making is you are listening wrong. And I know what you're thinking. How could you possibly listen wrong? Isn't that just like sitting there and they tell you stuff and then you hear it? Well, there's a little bit more to it than that. Actually, listening, it might be the most important part of the sales conversations that you have with people. So in this video, I'm going to explain why it's so important, but then I'm going to give you 3 specific questions that you could ask every dog owner that you meet while you're talking to them about your program. These specific questions, they're the right questions to ask that will get people to say just the right things and to think the right things, so that later when you offer your services, they'll be much more likely to say yes because you did the listening step correct. So listening to people, it accomplishes 2 main things. First of all, it gets people to revisit the pains and the struggles that they had, the things that motivated them to contact you in the first place. So the things that made their life uncomfortable with the problems that their dog was causing them, the pains that they had. So they're going to get to talk about those again and bring them back to mind. They might have had something like really rough happen with their dog. They go contact dog trainers and then they talk to you, but maybe the pain has kind of eased a little bit. So you're going to get them to bring these things back up so that when you offer your services, then they'll remember why they even contacted you. They'll be more motivated to want to eliminate all those bad things that were happening. The other really important part of the listening step, the second part, is to get people to feel reassured and understood. So I was thinking about a time where my wife Molly, we were at like a local barbecue and everybody in the neighborhood was invited. And she got stuck talking to this woman there. And she just was talking and talking for like a couple of hours. And I escaped. I think I went home. But she was there trapped with this lady and she just did all the talking. By the end of the conversation, which was generally one-sided, this neighbor thought that my wife was like her best friend. Like she loved her. And Molly didn't even say anything, but she sat there and she listened and she asked a few questions and she acted interested. So it's just the act of listening that causes people to feel like reassured and understood. So when you're talking to a dog owner, just by asking the right questions and then getting them to talk to you and you're listening, it will have that effect. They will like you more. They'll feel like you understand their problems. And because you understand their problems, it'll just make them feel reassured that you can fix their problems. So here are the 3 questions that you can ask whenever you talk to a dog owner. So one of them is, what is bothering you most on a day-to-day basis? Another one is, what is your dog doing right now that you wish he wasn't doing? And the third one is, how does that affect your everyday life? The purpose of these 3 questions is to get people to remember specific events that happened in their life where their dog wasn't listening to them and caused them some kind of trouble, and you want to draw out the emotions that they felt when that happened to them. One example that would be ideal is you ask this question and they might say to you, oh, it was just a few days ago we went for a walk and the dog like pulled on the leash so hard I lost control of the leash. He ran and I was like chasing him through the park and I couldn't catch him. Eventually I caught him, but it was so stressful and I never want that to happen again. So you have like an event and the emotion connected to it. And when you get people to do that, that's like the ideal scenario. So you can ask those 3 questions and you can, like, as you get better at this, you can adjust the questions as long as it has that goal in mind, is that you want to hear about the events that happened specifically and then the emotions. And another thing you could do, if you feel like the questions aren't getting them there, like they're just going off in another direction, you could ask them, well, how did it feel when that happened? What do you think will happen if you don't get these problems fixed? So they see the alternative to buying your services later in the process. Now, as you go through this, you might run into a situation where they tell you about a problem that they had, like the dog pulling on the leash and like taking off. And they might ask you like, well, how do I fix that? Or what would you do to fix that problem? And the right answer to that is that's something that we can cover later in any of our programs. Or we see that a lot. A lot of families have that issue. It's something we've dealt with many times. We can definitely help. So you're giving them reassurance. But what you don't want to do is the mistakes that people make in the listening process. So this is the right way to do it. You ask those questions, you let them talk. It just kind of takes care of itself as long as you know the purpose of the listening step and the right questions to ask. But here are the mistakes that dog trainers commonly make. It completely derails the whole process, and it results in less people saying yes to your offer later. Number one is that feeling like listening is a complete waste of your time and it's real boring. Now, I cannot promise that it's not going to be boring. You're probably sitting there thinking, I don't need to know any of this. I don't know if this person is going to sign up later. I might have just wasted 20 or 30 minutes of my time listening to this. Now, it probably won't be that long. I don't know how long they're going to talk for, but you can kind of move them along once you feel like you've accomplished what you need. But if you sit there on the phone or in person and you're acting like you're bored or that you don't need to hear this or something like that, it's going to completely derail the reassurance, and they'll feel like you're like cold, that you don't really understand their problem. It'll just do all the opposite things that you want to happen. So you definitely don't want to look bored. And if you are bored, you got to pretend, you got to act interested and put that smile on. And you can learn to be interested. I'm going to explain why you need to be interested in a minute. The second mistake dog trainers make in listening is asking questions with a view of coming up with some kind of plan to fix their problem. So remember, the goal of the questions is to get them to describe their emotions and the events that happen. You're not asking these questions because you're going to come up with some kind of a training plan. You're not going to give advice. You're not going to explain how to fix the problem. You're just listening. So all that stuff, that's later when they sign up for one of your programs or another step in the process, but that's not now. But if you're asking questions with the view of like, well, how do I fix this problem? And in your mind, you're coming up with like, well, how many lessons will I need for that? What kind of equipment do I need? Or anything like that. It will disrupt the thinking that the person has, and they won't feel reassured. It'll just kind of shift everything in a different direction. So you don't want to ask questions to diagnose a problem about the dog so that you can have information to try to fix it. That comes later. And the third mistake is you might have a hard time just not being quiet enough. Like, you need to ask the questions and just let them talk. Let them say whatever they want to say. Some people, they just talk too much. They feel like they're in the position where they came to you for help, so you should be talking to them. But you'll have plenty of time to talk to them later. So in this step, you just want to be aware of your body language and how much you're talking, and if you're interrupting, and keep that in check. And just remember, you're just there to ask the question and then you listen. Now, I said before that I was going to give you a little bit of a bonus of why it's so important to listen, besides all the things that we just talked about. So when you ask these questions and they're talking about their problems, the exact words and phrases and the way they say things is like gold to your business. So they're going to talk about the real life problems they had in language that a normal dog owner will use. Now, you're going to translate all those things into some kind of dog trainer talk, the way a dog trainer would talk to one another. And the tendency is that when you write your marketing materials, that's how you're going to put it, in kind of technical dog trainer language, or you're going to translate it into a way you would say. But that is not what you want to do. You need to take advantage of the listening step to hear what they're saying and the exact ways that they describe their problems, the exact language that they use, and you're going to use those words on your website, in your brochures, in all your marketing materials. And if you do that, then you'll be able to attract more people like the ones you enjoy working with. Having great listening and being able to sell well is super important. But if you're not selling something that you really enjoy doing, like, charging by the hour or by the lesson, or the thing you're actually offering isn't great, well, then everything's all messed up. So what you really want is to be able to sell well by listening, and then you want to sell something that's really great, sell something that people really want. And the way you need to do that is by having great programs. So I have another video over here, and you can click there and you can get a video on how to have amazing dog training programs. And if you can combine listening and selling with having great programs and they go together, it makes everything so much easier.